I'd just like to endorse the whole living wage movement. You'll be aware that in New Zealand we have a minimum wage, but the living wage movement tries to give us a figure that provides an opportunity for a family to live life with a modicum of respectability and not just be on the breadline. The big thing with the living wage movement for me is it gives a figure each year as a suggestion of what the living wage should be. I know that for me and for my friends, we're always interested to see what the living wage level is so that we can do a little calculation and hopefully try to make sure that we are paying at the rate proposed by the living wage movement, that we take that into account when trying to work out what the appropriate wage is for someone. But I think we need to take it very seriously. We don't want people in New Zealand just living on the breadline. Yes, we don't want people in New Zealand just living on the breadline. That's not the sort of nation that we have. So I do encourage you to study carefully any comments made by the living wage movement. Try to understand where this concept is coming from and to take it very seriously in thinking about how people in our society are coping. It does deserve to be taken very seriously. Thank you.
Good. Oh, yep, so as I said, my name is Vanessa, and these are our leaders, sorry, we're the leaders of our youth group, and anyone can introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Kalani. Hi everyone, my name is Nevroy.
Hi everyone, I'm Kiana.
Hi guys, I'm Alex.
Alright, let's go. Ready guys?
Minimum wage
leads to poverty.
Poverty has a face. We are solid. Crime.
Domestic violence.
Education.
Housing.
Food. Yes, we know that the minimum wage is $15.25. That's below the living wage of $19.80.
By definition, the minimum wage is described as the least amount of money that a worker must be paid according to law. The living wage is the minimum amount of income required for a worker to meet their daily needs.
With this being said, these are the rippling effects that are seen within our Auckland community.
Yes, we know
that the criminal rates of theft and armed robbery has increased by 15% each year in Auckland due to the offenders' lack of ability to afford necessities for themselves, resulting in criminal acts.
Yes, we know that the highest population who experience domestic violence in Auckland are people from low socioeconomic backgrounds. The financial stress, although not an excuse, is a major contributing factor towards the occurrence of family violence.
Yes, we know that Aotearoa New Zealand has a staggering population of 148,000 children that go without the things they need before going to school. With Auckland being a fraction of that fact, many of those children's ability to achieve and succeed in their young lives are unlikely, as they are not only categorised as poor, but they are also categorised as low to non-achievers.
Yes, we know that the weekly rent of a 3 to 4 bedroom house in Auckland falls between the price range of $400 to $600 a week. The person living off of the minimum wage earns only $610 a week. That's before taxes are charged, leaving them with next to no money to use on other expenses. That's 40% of families using over 30% of their income on housing.
Yes, we know that the cost of basic groceries for a family of 4 is $363.75 a week. That's in Manukau alone. Now imagine the amount of money left over after rents and other expenses for someone supporting a family on a minimum wage. They'll either turn to other cheaper, unhealthier choices or just eat less in general, depriving them of their proper daily meals.
With these statistics that we have put in front of you, only one question hits the hearts and minds of our community as we bear witnesses to the unforgettable experiences that are caused by these effects. And so we ask,
Help us!
When I was an 11-year-old boy, collared and harassed at the hands of 2 grown men for not rendering my mom's credit card, permitting them to buy the cigarettes they couldn't afford. Where were you when my auntie was at the lowest point of desperation, having to lie to her credit union that her husband had passed away, to claim emergency funds to make ends meet? Help us.
As I witnessed a father drag the mother of his child by the hair down a long gravel road as she held her newborn baby tightly in her arms. Where were you as the resounding screams echoed in my ears, only to be silenced when she was shoved violently into her car? Help us.
as I witness many innocent vulnerable children come to school every day with the same clothes that they wear every day on their backs, so hungry and distraught, missing out on school trips and new stationery such as books and pencils, and having no one else to understand the situation other than me, their teacher. Help us.
When my mum, a mother of 5, couldn't afford the weekly rent of a 4-bedroom home, was kicked out and deemed homeless, and had no other option but to move into an emergency home where we shared a bathroom and a kitchen with almost 20 other families. Help us.
As I walked into my school gates every single day with little to nothing to eat for lunch, only to come home after a long day to eat what little my parents could provide due to how much they earned and how many of us they had to feed. Help us.
We as youths have a vision that these issues that surround our community will be changed by implementing the living wage.
The living wage would not only minimise the impact of low income, but it will also provide an opportunity for those in Auckland to accommodate the basic needs for life. So to change the face of poverty into equity.
So to speak life into the criminal justice of today's society, the injustice of hard labour, but most importantly and most significantly, the personal injustice of being exposed to misdemeanors and anticipating for personal survival.
So that the stresses of financial hardship are not the reason a child should bear witness to the brutality of their father's anger.
So that a difference can be made for all children in school to go with the things they need in order to succeed in life.
So that families in the lowest income bracket can afford basic accommodation.
So that families can enjoy a decent meal together.
We want you to stop sitting in our church foyers and to stand with our priests as vessels to advocate our message. We propose on the 7th of August that a homily is preached on the harmful effects of living on the minimum wage.
By getting our priests to preach on the harsh realities that the living wage has in our community, it will shed light on the situation for our otherwise oblivious parishioners.
As Pope Francis recently said,
Poverty is a reality,
not a faceless statistic.
Poverty has a face.
It is the face of a child, it is the face of a family, it is the face of people, young and old.
This year marks 125 years since Pope Leo XIII's famous encyclical Rerum Novarum. And Rerum Novarum looked at the social conditions that working people were facing in the 19th century. And he taught that it was extremely important that every worker be paid a just wage. And ever since then, all of our Catholic popes have strongly endorsed the importance of a just wage. A just wage is defined as a wage which is adequate to meet the needs of a worker and to meet the needs of the worker's family. Enough to be housed decently, enough to put good food on the table, enough to really provide for your children, enough to participate adequately in society. And unfortunately, in New Zealand today, a lot of workers are not paid a just wage, and this means that people really struggle to provide adequately for their families. People are going without. People are inadequately housed because they can't afford to buy or to rent decent accommodation. Children are not being properly fed because parents can't afford to put good food on the table. Children are missing out on the opportunities that every child should have in life because their parents can't afford to provide that for them. Children are going to school with inadequate clothing, lack of raincoats on wet winter's days, inadequate footwear because their parents can't afford to provide those necessities of life. And the reason that the parents can't afford these necessities is not that the parents are lazy, the parents are often hard-working people, but their wages are too low. Their wages are not a just wage. The law in New Zealand provides a minimum wage, which is currently set at $15.25 an hour, but unfortunately that minimum wage is not adequate to really provide for a family. In my view, the minimum wage is very far below a just wage. This is where the living wage came in as a mechanism to look at what the actual costs of providing for a family of 2 children, 2 parents working 60 hours a week between the 2 of them, and that was set, calculated at $19.80 per hour. The Justice and Peace Commission of the Catholic Diocese of Auckland is a strong supporter of the living wage movement. We see the living wage as a very valuable mechanism for encouraging employers to move towards paying every worker a just wage, a wage which really is adequate to provide for their family. And this teaching of ours basically comes from our faith, because our faith holds that God created this beautiful world and everything in it for all the people of the world, not just for a privileged and a wealthy few. And it's our responsibility as Catholics to find ways to put our faith into action, to make sure that wealth is distributed fairly, that every family earns enough to provide adequately for their children. And this is why we support the just wage and why we see the living wage as a very valuable means of moving towards just wages.